Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Woke Lab. I'm so excited to be here for this first Woke Lab session with my special guest, Shelly Tygeislki. And Shelly is Shelly, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Shelly is an absolutely incredible leader in the world who there is probably no one that I could be more honored and privileged to bring on to the Woke Lab as the first guest than Shelly with you guys. And I mean that with my whole heart. And you know, I don't say that lightly because we're going to have some incredible guests. So I'll introduce you to Shelly officially in just a moment. But one of the things that I want to say here for you and for everybody who's listening to this later is the intention of the Woke Lab. And the reason why it's called the Woke Lab is because we are coming together. Yes, you're going to be listening and hearing and seeing and being inspired by incredible stories with action steps to help you move forward in every domain of your life. But we're also going to break out into small groups and have discussions and have the laboratory going on where we can see how in our different mini groups we can come up with new solutions for things and then come back together and share. Because I think one of the things that's changing in the world as we are decolonizing our wellness space and our personal growth space is that we know that the answers come from all of us. And we are stronger when we come together, and we are stronger together. And so what I want you to know is you don't have to, even when we break out into groups, even when we do all of that, you never have to feel obligated to speak, okay? But you are invited. It's an invitation for you to step in and see what has to offer. And if you don't want to speak, that doesn't mean you're not doing anything. What happens if you choose not to speak is you are just holding sacred space for everyone else and for the entire group. So I ask you to be here with full presence, with full intention, support each other, be here for each other, and let's come together as we rise. So Shelly, hello, my dear.
Hi.
Hello,
Hey.
hello, hello. So can everybody see Shelly? If you don't, you can just put speaker view to make sure that you can see her. I have the whole grid of you guys here. And Shelly has begun the most incredible movement that is happening around the world right now called Pandemic of Love. And more than what this woman has done in the world, what I want to tell you is in my entire career thus far, I have never met a person who has been more dedicated to the heart of service than Shelly in my life, period. You guys know, anybody who's listened to my work, you hear me say often, we have to move from self to service. We have to ask, how can I serve instead of how can I get ahead? And Shelly lives this fully and completely, sometimes to a fault, because we're getting her to take care of herself a little bit better these days. But Shelly really is living that. And the conversation that we're going to have today, I think, is going to inspire you beyond belief. So what I want to show you right now is how Shelly's movement, the Pandemic of Love, started in the first place. And so you're going to see my screen in just a moment, and I'm going to show you guys a quick video to show you where the Pandemic of Love began. Here you go. Oop, hold on, starting that one more time. And there we go.
Hi. I just wanted to let you know about a program that our community has put together to bring together and match up individuals that are currently experiencing a need due to loss of income or income uncertainty because of the pandemic, and individuals that are in a position of privilege to be able to help those individuals. So there's two forms that I'm putting online. One is for people who are in need, hourly workers, people who rely on tips or on industries like hospitality or events, etc., where you can actually just fill out what needs you have. It might be something like grocery bills, assistance with utility bills, or gas or other types of payments. And the other form is for individuals who are in a capacity to give. Every little bit helps. We'll match you up with a specific person or family, and you can feel like you are doing something to spread love and not fear.
So this is where it all began. This is where it all began. And what I want to name for you guys before we jump into the conversation with Shelly is that Shelly is not somebody who has millions of Instagram followers. Shelly is not an influencer. Shelly was not any of these people. She is one woman living in Florida who posted something to her Instagram for her community in Florida. And then it started to unfold from here. So Shelly, can you tell me what inspired you to even send this out and start this pandemic of love in the first place?
Well, I'll answer that, but I first want to thank you for the introduction. It was just very moving, and I feel the same way about you. And so I thank you so much for creating this space for us all to share and grow. That video, it's so funny. I've not ever watched that video. I just kind of like posted it, and it's been shared thousands of times at this point. And it's from March 14th. So it seems like a lifetime ago, really, when you think about it, right? As the days sort of blend into each other. So I think the impetus or the reason why I decided to even create something or post a video really stemmed from the fact that I started to see a bubbling up in our community locally here in South Florida. So Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, which is very, as you probably know, in the state of Florida, hospitality driven. I started to see the bubbling up of fear. People were really freaking out about how they were going to stock up on supplies as they were being told to do when they live paycheck to paycheck, when they have income uncertainty to begin with. And so for a very long time, for certainly the last 4 years of my life, when I stepped into becoming a full-time mindfulness instructor and working with communities that are across the board affected by trauma or are activists, I started to really kind of search for and look at and examine the fight or flight reaction that we normally, when we're afraid of something, we just like freeze or we run from it, or we make bad decisions, we react. And as a mindfulness practitioner, we live in that pause, or we try to, right? We teach people to do that and to respond versus react. And so from very early on, and this was actually something that I taught at the Women's Convention and spoke about in Detroit a year after, or 7 months after the Women's March happened, there was a Women's Convention in Detroit. And I spoke about how we can move from fight or flight to empathy action.
And that's so interesting, because what you're talking about is exactly the space that so many people were in right when the pandemic started, in this fight or flight state. And so was it that you actually embodied this practice and from fight or flight said, okay, how can I myself move into empathy action and help other people move into empathy action as well?
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's fascinating to me only because, and I will say this, I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but I imagine that if you're somebody that studies, like a law of physics that you think that you posit may be true, you hypothesize that it might be true. And suddenly, the proof comes in that the concept is true, the theory is actually reality. It feels incredibly gratifying. So for the last 4 years, I've been talking about and teaching as a self-care activist about how communities of care can work when they're formalized, when they're institutionalized, when we properly structure them. And mutual aid is a pillar of communities of care and building communities of care into social justice and activist circles.
So let's break that down for just a moment. So we're not, so I want to make sure everyone understands the word. So as we're talking about mutual aid, this word of mutual aid, can you define what that means and why that's important for everybody to know here?
So mutual aid is a really simple concept. The concept is this. I want you to think about whether it's your grandparents or maybe it was your parents, But somebody in your life somewhere along the way that was older than you used the phrase back in the day. Back in the day, when we were kids or when we were growing up, everybody in the community knew each other. The community cared for you. If somebody was out of a job, if somebody was sick, if somebody, had a death in the family, and so on. And the community was a safety net. And since really, I guess the Industrial Revolution and just everything thereafter, and really the technological revolution, back in the day has disappeared. It's vanished. The concept of mutual aid takes us back in the day. It's basically this concept that in this world, in our communities, however you define community, whether it's geographical, whether it's based on your belief system, whether it's your religious, organization that you're a part of, whatever it is, it's basically this concept that there are people who have privilege of some sort. It doesn't have to just be monetary. It can be time. It can be, the ability to have access to transportation and so on. So it's people who have privilege and then people who have a need of some sort. And guess what? Everybody has needs. And I think what happens is in mutual aid is it formalizes it. Why is the formalization so important? Because as probably every single person on this call knows, asking for help is one of the hardest things you can ever do. It is so hard to say, I need help for a variety of reasons. And so when there's this mutual aid structure that's actually in place, it becomes so much easier to ask for help because there's a structure.
Yeah, right there. I'm right with you. Completing the sentences, darling. Yeah, it's right there because there's a structure and it says, okay, this is where and how I can ask for help. And one of the things
everybody's doing it. It's not like, there's this level of anonymity to it in a way. It's confidential. You're sending a form, it's not like everybody in the world knows what your position is in. And that there are people on the other end that are just waiting for your form to come in because they want to be able to help.
This is so beautiful. And what I want to share with you guys right now, just to give you guys an example of exactly how this works, is Shelly, like she said, set up these two forms for starting with her local community, where you can either ask for help or offer help. And people were asking for so many things, from I need diapers, to I need money to pay my bills, to I need somebody to call me once a week to check on me because there's nobody to call. So from all the different privileges of time and money and resources and this, and people who were asking to offer help. So Shelly posted this, and very quickly, very, very quickly, what happened is the world started to see and started to hear from that one little Instagram post. And I want to show you guys what happened next. Get ready to see what's happening on my screen.
Guess what? My friend Shelly Tygeislki is how you say it, sort of. I'm not positive, but you try saying it. Anyway, she started something called Pandemic of Love, which means if you're somebody who can afford to give, you can go on to pandemicoflove.com and she'll match you with somebody who's in need right now. And likewise, if you're somebody in need, you can go on and she'll match you with a donor. So my sister Simone is giving a man in New York $200 a week, and they text and exchange information, and he keeps her updated to how he's doing. You can keep in touch with your donor, or you can blow them off. It's really up to you. But it's called pandemicoflove.com, and if you can give, please go sign up, and if you need, please go sign up. We're all in this together. Thank you.
Chelsea Handler, everybody. And so this amazing, oops, hold on, the video is still going on my side. There we go. So Chelsea Handler saw it, and I love that she said so fully, my friend Shelly Tygeislki, as if you guys were like hanging out before this, you know what I mean? Which was absolutely not the case. But what happened, you guys, is this movement started to spread and it started to grow. And after about a week from it starting in Florida, you guys had how many people that had been matched? What was your first big milestone?
I think the first milestone that I had was like 900 families that I posted. Maybe it was like 400. I honestly don't remember, but it was less than 1,000. But within 24 hours, what happened is that I have a friend that I haven't seen since I graduated from high school, which is well over 20 years ago, who lives in San Francisco, and she reached out to me and said, hey, this is so cool. How can I start this? I'm still working. She works for a high-tech company, and you know, I could do this like after hours. How can I start this in San Francisco? We have such need here. And so I said, no problem. Like, I'll just copy these forms for you, and we'll start creating multiple copies of this form, you know, and we'll be able to support each other. And so she was the first micro community, as we called it, that started in San Francisco. And then shortly thereafter, and when I say shortly, I mean like within 24 to 48 hours, we had a community in Portugal, a community in Spain, a community in like Manhattan, in the Bronx, in Atlanta. And it just kept proliferating over and over. Like, and so the way that, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the way that we set it up, because really I could have just like, you know, talked to my friend Nancy in San Francisco and said, okay, this is how I did it. You should do it this way. But instead what I did is I said, you know, I think the community, having the structure work together on a global level, is so incredibly important. And I also knew that in many cases that I, you know, as a maybe having more eyeballs now to my social links, would get more donors or have access to more people that were willing to give. And so I said to her, like, let's just create some sort of a model where it almost, think about like a multi-level marketing pyramid, which I know many of us are like, you know, we eye roll about it. Some of us might, yeah, because you're just like, but there's a good you know, use for it in this case, because the national form that we have, the original forms that I created, which were just created for the South Florida community, but my son,
P.S.
my
on Google
community,
Forms, like on a Google form. This was not like some big
literally.
website. She was just like, you know.
Yeah, no. Like, I'm super not tech savvy. Like, seriously. I mean, I'm like like on a wing and a prayer with like duct tape and like, I don't even know. I created these forms. And they're not pretty, and they're still the original forms. So, but I said, you know, we can create these national forms. And then what I discovered about Google Forms is that I could actually, I could duplicate the forms, and I could connect the forms, the sheets, right? When you fill out a form, it like creates an Excel spreadsheet on Google, and I could connect them so that every time somebody from San Francisco filled out our national form, if they were in need or could help, it would drop them into, based on identifying the zip codes, drop them into Nancy's sheets. And that way,
amazing.
And if Nancy ever was short, which happens all the time, she'll say, hey, can you drop 20 more donors in my sheets? And we go into her, because we're connected now, so I could just go into her sheets and I could drop 20 donors who have indicated that they don't care if the person they're giving to is 5 states over, like they just want to help somebody. So it's not necessarily always somebody from your community, but we try to do it as micro as possible, because then in addition to financial help, obviously a lot of other ways of helping could be, you know, put together.
This is beautiful. And so I want to show you guys basically what started happening next, which is absolutely incredible. So we're following this story, and Shelly, just so you know, your connection is showing up as a little choppy every once in a while. So I don't know if you know that there's something that you can do to help that, but I'm going to play a video.
Let me try.
In the meantime, I'm going to play a video, and you can mute yourself while I go to this video. So basically what happened is, starting in the beginning, Shelly put out these forms for her community. It started to multiply. People started creating their own micro communities in their own place, showing how each of us could have the power to create support for the communities that we're in. And you guys are going to see how we're taking this actually to you and your own individual lives in just a moment when we go out into the breakout rooms. But what happened next is truly mind-blowing. Get ready to see what's on the screen, this touching moment with Shelly and Joe Biden.
And I'm with my wife, Jill.
Hi, oh my God.
Thank you for the wonderful things you're doing.
It's
Changing people's lives.
It's my honor. I have had so many amazing inspirations in my life, including yourself and your wife and former President Obama and Michelle, and it's my pleasure to be part of the positive statistics in our country now.
Well, when I announced a year ago I was running, I said I was running to restore the soul of America. Well, you are the soul of America. We're seeing the soul of America come out in ways that I don't think would have ever happened back in this crisis. And so thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for taking the time to make the call. I will promise you that as a precinct captain in Broward County and a former area leader, I am going to be canvassing like hell for you. I'm going to be rallying the troops, and I will be making sure that you're in that White House in November.
Well, it's because of people like you, if we get in the White House, that's what's going to happen. I'm not being solicitous. I really mean it.
No, I know that. And I'm just so proud of, we have 400 volunteers now in over 85 communities around the country that spend all day, every day for the last 5 weeks, just matching people in need with patrons that are just stepping up. And we've now made our 40,000th match just a few days ago, which is $5.5 million in transactions, which is amazing to think that we just started it by throwing a pebble in the water like 5 weeks ago.
And you started it.
I did. I'm a mindfulness teacher. So part of I work with Fred Guttenberg and a lot of the Parkland parents here teaching trauma-informed mindfulness. And so,
well, Fred's a good friend.
Yeah, he's great.
That's the time.
So I'm just going to stop that there, you guys. This beautiful video that continues on. And so here we are with, Vice President, Joe Biden calling Shelly on the phone to congratulate her, going from her just being there in her hometown. And what I want to share with you guys, just before we break into the breakout rooms and have a little bit more discussion, is that what has happened today is truly revolutionary. Shelly was just featured on CNN. And what has just happened, and this is what's so incredible about this, what has just happened is, if you guys saw on the New York Times, there was this list of the 100,000 names. This gives me chills. The 100,000 names of lives that have been lost to COVID. And at the exact same time as 100,000 names got posted and we hit 100,000 lives lost, Shelly and Pandemic of Love hit 100,000 matches of people who have been helped and served. Balancing these, same time, they hit the milestone at the same time. And so to show how we can balance these scales, at the same time, if we lost 100 lives, which is tragic and terrible and cannot be, taken lightly, at the same time, there was 100,000 families and people who were matched, which really means 200,000 people, because it's 100,000 in need and 100,000 who gave support. And now, Shelly, I'm sure it's continued. And just so you guys know, none of the money touches Shelly. It all gets transacted directly between the donor and the person that's in need. So Shelly, this is just so amazing. And I want to ask you, first of all, where you guys are at today, because I know it's increasing exponentially. And also, what do you feel like everybody on here needs to know as a lesson to learn from this today?
Sure. So where we are today is we're in the super mala mode of 108,000 matches. 108 being such a secret
108.
number.
Yes. I love it. Super mala mode.
I know. And that represents well over $14 million in transactions. On Wednesday, I'm going to be training 60 new area leaders, community.
How many did you say?
60. 60
new. Yeah, great.
Yeah, which is incredible. And they're from all over. I mean, they're from Torino, Italy, to Germany, to every corner of the United States, Canada. We have a Latin American site called Pandemia de Amor, which has 14 countries represented now, from Venezuela to Colombia to Brazil, Peru, etc. So Central America as well. And so that's where we are statistics wise.
And what do you think now, as everybody listening, like what do you think the big takeaway is for all of us?
You know, I think that there's so many people that I talk to now that are like, that say like, wow, I've been really wanting to do something, and I've been thinking about doing something, and I had a similar idea, and you know, and we partner up, and what I think I've realized, and certainly been realizing this for many years, but there's two kinds of people in the world, right? There's the what ifs and there's the why nots. And so the what ifs are the ones that have this like paralysis by analysis, and they're like, well, what if this happens, and what if this goes wrong, and what if this goes wrong, and what if that happens, right? And then there's the why nots, and the why nots are like the people who say, well, why not do this, you know, why not try and then figure it out as we go, like, why not me? And I think that we overanalyze things sometimes, like we don't connect and actually listen to our heart center enough, and that's where the love over fear part comes in. When we are able to really connect and remember that love is our natural state of being, right? You know, as Marianne Williamson so aptly stated once, love is what we're born with and fear is what we learned here. Mm. And I think if we can kind of tap back into that root of like why we're here, and that we can all come from a position of love all the time, the rest of it will always figure itself out, because love always wins.
Yeah.
Love wins. And so I definitely learned that, you know, if you take a moment to just kind of connect with that heart center, and then just go and trust that everything else will fall into place, that it can, and it will.
This is so beautiful.
And I also learned, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shelly. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I also learned that, and this is what's on the website, you know, that viruses are a scary thing, but they can also be like a really positive thing. Like, it's not, you know, viruses are not just like these things that enter our body and like and wreak havoc. Other things can go viral too that are positive: hope and faith and love and kindness and gratitude, all of these wonderful things that can go viral, that can be infectious, and quite frankly can be the cure to everything.
Oh, Shelly, this is so beautiful. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I don't know if you guys can see, but if we could just give some like love to Shelly. One of the things that I love to do when I'm in person, because clapping is sometimes awkward in these small groups, is I rub this is like our hand rub when I do in my in-person events, to just say, I feel you, sister. So thank you. And here's what we're going to do. Okay. We are going to get ready to go into Zoom breakout groups. And if you haven't done Zoom breakout groups before, don't worry, it's not scary. You don't have to do anything dramatic. What it's like is we instantly just pop into these little rooms where we're in small groups. And it's like we're all stepping into our own separate rooms. And we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna have a conversation about help and about need. And I wanna name the question and also name the intention of what we're gonna be discussing in these groups. So the intention, and the thing that I want to circle this with, is why it's so hard for us sometimes to ask for help, and the vulnerability that it takes for us to ask for help. And showing by Shelly's story, seeing how incredible and amazing it actually is when people do ask for help, the magic that can unfold. And so this is a space here right now for you to go into your groups. And the question that we're going in with is, where is an area of your life where you need to or could benefit from asking for help, but you haven't asked yet? And this can do with any area of your life, with your work, with your relationships, with your well-being, with your spirituality, with your physicality, with your money, with your time, with your self-care, with any area of your life. And let me be very clear about what the intention is here of this group. When you go into your small groups, if you don't want to speak, first of all, you don't have to. You can say, like, I respectfully pass and I'm holding space for the group. So you can just be one there listening and allowing people to be heard. And for those of you who are saying and talking about what it is that you need help with, the intention of this group is naming it, is saying it out loud and naming it. And the reason why I want to say that is does not need to turn into a therapy session. This does not need to turn into an advice session. You, as somebody in the group, you're not responsible for needing to fix someone right now. What I'm giving all of us the opportunity to do in this group right now is to ask and name the areas of our lives where we might need help and support. Because if we can't name it out loud, and if we can't have the awareness around it, it's so hard to make the change. So that's where you're going to begin, okay? So it's just naming it, talking about it. And those of you who are listening, what your job is to listen fully and actively with your whole hearts. And also your response, it could be to just give support. I feel you. I've been there too. Here's how I've been there too. Here's a story of how I've been there too, to know how we're not alone. Your job is not to become the therapist, okay? So I'm just naming that here. So what's gonna happen, and obviously if there's something that you can obviously do to help somebody, what you might say is, hey, I can really help you with this. Let's talk offline. Would you like to exchange information? And then you can exchange information and talk more formally about it offline, seeing how we're kind of using this pandemic of love style to see what's going on in our world. So if anybody has any questions about this and what we're gonna do in the breakout rooms, just type them into the chat box for a second before we go to breakout. And Shelly, is there anything that you wanna add before we pop into our rooms?
Yeah, I just want to say this is definitely a safe space. So, you know, you can kind of lean into it, maybe be willing to be more vulnerable than you normally would be. So it's a safe space.
Yeah, beautiful. And you know what, Claire just asked a really good question. She said, what if I don't know what you might need help with? How can you figure that out? I'm so glad you asked this, Claire, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little practice together before we go into the breakout rooms. So what I'm gonna invite you all to do very briefly is I want you to place one hand over your heart and then the other hand on top of that, if you're willing. So both hands over the heart, and take a full deep breath in, hold it at the top, and a deep exhale. And then I'd like you to start, right now I know you're probably looking at the screen, but I want you to look at something out in the room or the space that you're in front of you, and just look at one point directly out in front of you. It doesn't have to be a spiritual or a special point. You can look at just a spot on the wall even. But just keep your eyes focused on one central point, looking straight at it. And as you look at this point without moving your eyes, I want you to notice how far to the right of you you can see without moving your eyes. So we're expanding our peripheral awareness. And then without moving your eyes, notice how far to the left of you you can see, keeping your eyes on this one point. And then notice how far above and below you you can see without moving your eyes. And as you feel this sense of expansiveness, notice if you can take in as much light and color and texture from the environment that you're in around you. And just notice what you can take in. Notice every color, every texture. And then take a deep, full breath in. And on the exhale, I allow you to invite your eyes to gently shut if that feels comfortable to you, just for a moment. And as you feel into your heart, I want you to just ask yourself this question. Where do I need support? Where do I need support? And just trust what bubbles up. It might be something big. It might be something small. You might need something as easy and simple as a book recommendation to learn about something new that you've wanted to learn in your life. Or you might be struggling with your career or some area of your life where you're really needing some help right now. And I want you to know that this space, when you go into your breakout rooms, will not be recorded at all. There will be no replay of your breakout rooms. And we all together here are holding this space as a sacred container for you to just name it out loud of where you might need support. And we'll see what bubbles up on the other side. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Beautiful. Beautiful. So you can open your eyes and we're going to go into our breakout rooms. And what you'll see when you go into the breakout rooms is there's a little button on the bottom that says ask for help. That's kind of like your ring the alarm button that you need me, and I will see that and I can pop into your guys' room like the teacher and be like, hey, what's up? Like I'm the lab, whatever specialist that can help you. And we're gonna be in our rooms for about 11 minutes. I'm gonna put an 11-minute timer that you'll see on the room. So you're gonna be 4 people per room. And I'm gonna ask that you guys are there, 4 people, 11 minutes should be plenty of time to have this discussion and to continue to discuss more. So just recapping the rules, this is a sacred space. All things will be kept and held confidentially. We're asking the question, where in your life do you need or might you need to ask for support or help, but you haven't asked for it yet? And this is your opportunity to name it. And for those of you guys who have had moments to relate and say, I've been there before, or I support you or everything, this is your moment to show that support, but this is not the moment to fix people. And if you have something that you can offer as help or support, you can connect with that person and say that you can talk to them offline so that you can dive a little deeper than what we can do in the 11 minutes. And if you have something quick, obviously these are light rules. This is a lab, we're experimenting. Just go with the flow. You each have your own little groups, which will create your own little pods. So here we go. There's gonna be 3 to 4 of you in every single group. We'll be on for 11 minutes and then we'll all come back to the main group and we'll have some time to share with each other. Ready, set, here we go. You just have to push accept when you see your breakout rooms. Welcome back from your groups. So you're gonna see everybody's kind of slowly piling in. And how beautiful to get a chance to actually be in community and connect. The breakout rooms are all closing. And it's just beautiful. Hello, I'm gonna let everybody kind of slowly make their way back into the rooms. It takes a second and it gives them 120 seconds until it forces people to come back. So we'll see everybody slowly entering. Here they come, here they come, here they come. Welcome back, welcome back. Oh, people are still talking. They're still getting out. This is great. So I don't want to talk too much before we begin, but one of the things that I was going to say, you know, as I was sitting here is just how, you know, what I was doing while you guys were in your groups is I just kind of was like sitting here and meditating and holding space for all the groups energetically and feeling so grateful that you guys are showing up in the way that we're showing up, you know. And one of the things that Claire said that was so beautiful, she came back to the group a little early, was that, you know, this is an act of self-care. You know, what we're doing right now is an act of self-care for all of us, of being here and showing up and being in the conversations and being in the community. And it's just so beautiful, you guys. It's just such a beautiful thing. And it's something that I'm so grateful to have all of you here. And so I think it has about 3 more seconds to get these rooms closed. That's so funny. Why is everybody still in their rooms? I think it should force them back in now. Here they come, here they come. All right, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back.
Oh, let me mute myself. Okay.
Yep, you're unmuted. It's all good though. You know what, Rob? This is perfect. Stay unmuted, stay unmuted, stay unmuted, because here's what I want to do. If you're willing, what I want to do for a moment right now is just take a moment to share. And when we're talking about sharing, it really can be from any space. It can be that you're sharing what it is and wanting to name for the whole group what you wanted to ask for help, or you can be talking for the group. But one of the things that I'm actually really interested in is how it felt to name it and to be held in space by people who you don't know. And how all of that maybe felt for you in the process. And Shelly, hold on, I'm looking for Shelly on here. Where's my Shelly? Oh, there she is. I see her. Okay, Shelly, I'm unmuting you so that you can chat with us and the guests as well. Okay, so Ra is speaking right now. Ra, go for it.
Okay, so I shared that I need to become more comfortable essentially with letting go of relationships, family or friends that just aren't serving to me, because I consider myself to be an anchor. So I consider myself that's someone that's supposed to be there, but that supposed to becomes toxic when the people I'm trying to support aren't receptive of it, or just don't want it, or just aren't prepared for it. And I kind of like force myself to stay in those spaces. So it felt extremely light to say that out loud and to own that I need to go ahead and do that and accept that for myself. Because what the ladies kept mentioning to me was creating healthy boundaries for myself. I know how to give that to everyone else. I know how to tell everyone to do that for themselves, but for some reason it doesn't come back to, it's not a boomerang effect, and it doesn't come back to me. So it felt good to own that and to do that. And being a woman of color, to become okay with accepting that I might need a therapist. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's absolutely okay.
Yeah, I would say this is me gonna just say it because I'm me, but I would say because you are a woman of color, you need a therapist. Absolutely.
Listen, absolutely, okay?
Like, I know I do. I'm not even a woman, so like you this is why.
Listen,
you know
absolutely.
it is.
But you
it
know,
is
there's
so necessary.
that stigma in our community of
So much.
no, like. So I'm letting go of that stigma. I'm accepting it. I'm embracing it. I'm doing it, and I'm going to definitely share my journey because I think it'd be inspirational.
Thank you. And can you just name your name to everybody, where you're from, where you're calling in from?
Oh, I'm Ra. I'm calling in from San Diego, California.
Yes. Lots of SoCal
and I love
people.
you, Justin Michael Williams. Thank you.
I love you, Ra. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Wait, can
Yeah,
I
Shelly,
add something?
please jump in.
So I just want to say that because you brought up women of color therapy. So if you don't already follow Rachel Cargill on Instagram, she's coming out with a book called "I Don't Need Your Love and Light" sometime next year. But she has a foundation that pays for therapy for women of color. So
wow,
if you cannot afford, if your issue is financial, there's money there to help with self-care for women of color, so that's one boundary that can be removed.
Beautiful. Shelly,
absolutely.
would you mind typing her name into the chat box for everybody?
Yeah, definitely.
So we can see that. So this is what I'm going to do, because I know everybody wants to share, and this is so exciting. We have a bunch of us on here. So there's so the question that I'm going to ask is like, how did it feel, and what is it that you want to share? And I'm going to invite everybody to type in the chat box, and we'll have time to probably bring about 2 or 3 more people. I want to end in the next 20 minutes, just because Zoom sessions that are longer than 90 minutes are exhausting for everyone, including me. So we're leave it there, so that this feels joyful for you and not like you're begging for mercy and you're asking for more. So I see Janice has her hand raised. Janice, did you push that because you want to share?
Oh, yes. So,
beautiful. Hello, Janice. Where are you calling in from?
Downtown Chicago. And so, Justin, I'm not going to answer your questions, but I'm going to take it where you started this, about gratefulness, right here, right now. And in that breakout room, I was with 2 beautiful younger ladies who were so supportive of each other and of me. And for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aww, thank you.
Thank you, Janice. I think so many of us can feel that, right? Just how beautiful it is for us to be able to come together and to connect. And what it reminds me of is, Shelly, what you said is when the formalized structure is created, we then feel free to do this. And this is what we all really want, is to connect.
Right.
We actually really want to do this, even with strangers, especially with strangers who we know are like coming together from the same kind of community and ethos. And so with a little bit of structure and 11 minutes, like look how much can happen. And so thank you so much. Feel free, if you guys have anything else you want to type into the chat box, to let me know. If you guys want to share, push the raise hand button. And Tiffany, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to share something?
No, I just I was unmuted because just in case I decided to share something. The group that was Kelsey and Camilla, they were beautiful, and I got me realizing we're all more similar than we are different. We're so similar because we like shared pretty much the same thing.
Yes.
Crazy.
Who else was in your group? Is there, you said Chelsea, and do either of you?
No, I think it's Kelsey. I think.
Kelsey, do you want to share something about your experience at all? You can just unmute yourself, or I'll unmute you. Here you go. All right, you're unmuted. Oops, hold on. You are now unmuted. Go for it.
I don't know. I just, it's similar to what Tiffany, her sentiments. It just, if we felt very connected, and we're able to, realize the commonalities we had, and each be able to support each other, and trying to find where we could get that help from in our lives, and naming it was very powerful. I don't know.
Beautiful.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. I'm going to mute you both, beautiful ladies, again. And I'm wondering if any of the gentlemen want to share anything. You can feel free to unmute yourself and just talk. Trey, go ahead.
Sure. Hello, everybody.
Trey, where are you from?
So I'm from Los Angeles, California, but I'm currently living in Stafford, Virginia. And this was a very meaningful experience for me because, like everybody said, it was really meaningful to have a space where we can open up and name a lot of the fears or frustrations or challenges that we're carrying. Being able to speak with folks about what I've been carrying with me was really empowering, especially since as I've been transitioning to this next chapter of my life, it's become, I've left a lot of my friends and family in LA, so it feels kind of ostracizing. So to be able to connect with folks was really, really meaningful.
Beautiful. Trey, how old are you, Trey?
I'm 21.
Oh, thank you so much,
Wow.
Trey. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, brother. It's an honor. And I know these moments can be so. Shelly, is there anything you want to share?
I think that this is like a micro example of what mutual aid communities can be. The idea that there's safe spaces that we can create for ourselves in which it feels comfortable to ask for help and to offer support. It doesn't feel like forced. So if you kind of just look to this 11-minute experience that we had and kind of think about how you can even recreate that in your own lives, with a community that it's formalized, where you actually speak out and you say, rather than, oh, I have these girlfriends that I get together with, or at least pre-pandemic used to get together with, on Thursday nights, and we used to have a glass of wine at this cafe or whatever. That's great. That's definitely a form of release and self-care and fun and all that stuff. But what would happen if you formalized with those girlfriends, for example, or other types of community, and said, hey guys, how about if we get together and work on a coping plan or self-care plans where we formally identify the things that we can do to help ourselves cope in life, pre, post, pandemic, during, etc. And how can we support each other in breaking down any of the walls or obstacles or barriers, and also hold each other accountable? That's the start of the formalization, building that structure. Because when you suddenly have somebody that's saying, hey, Justin, you said that you were going to, take a walk every day. I noticed that for the last 5 days, you've been sitting in front of your Zoom screen. Did you take your walk today? What's it going to take? Should we take it together on Zoom? Should we go for a walk together? There's something to be said there, because it's a formalized way. And, oh, you couldn't take a walk because you happen to have 3 children, which you don't, but I'm just saying if you did, you have 3 kids. Yeah. You can't take a walk, no problem. What do you need? Do you need me to come babysit for them? Again, I understand we live in a very strange world right now, but that's generally speaking, that's how it works. Suddenly, what a person needs because they've identified it, they've voiced it, you gave them the platform to voice it, and you yourself have voiced what you need. And then the individuals that are in your formalized group help you make sure that you actually tend to those things, take care of them, and that they help you break down the barriers, whether they're financial, time-wise, or any other way.
This is so beautiful, Shelly. Thank you. And, as a call to action for everybody, I think you can, first of all, you can share the recording to this with anybody that you want to. It's open to share. And remember, the private rooms were not recorded at all, but everything that was in the public space is recorded. And also, the thing that we can do is to formalize some groups, or even if it's just one other person, or a few other people. And one thing that I love, Shelly, that I've actually was doing before COVID with a couple people was we had a call, like a group call with 4 of us, where like the purpose of the call was not just like Kiki, check in, hey, how are you? But was to actually talk about what we were needing. And mastermind groups do this, like business mastermind groups do this. Like everybody come in and say what you're needing.
That's right.
And then everybody can pull in their resources to see how to support the group. So you could even formalize like, hey girls, hey everybody, hey whoever, like once a week, we are going to be together and have a conversation. And the 30 minutes on the phone is going to be about what we really need the most. And that formality is going to help give you the permission to share what you need to share and ask for what you need. So for all of you who shared that thing that you shared in the group, I'm going to invite you, if you feel comfortable, to share that with somebody in your community that you feel like might be able to offer support, or even if they can't offer support, maybe they'll know somebody who will, because asking for help is such a big thing for all of us. So because I like to be part of the, go ahead, Shelly, what were you going to say?
Oh, just
nothing.
Oh, somebody's talking. Hello, Erica. Hi, what's up?
I just wanted to add something. There's 7 of us in a Sangha group, and we can't meet like we used to once a month. But what we do is we each took a day of the week and we write a letter to the group. And that way we keep in touch with all of us every single week. And it is just incredibly supportive, and I don't feel as isolated. I love it.
That is so beautiful. Erica, where are you calling in from or joining us from today?
Stevenson, Washington.
Stevenson, Washington. I see all the beautiful trees in the background.
Yeah, we're in a forest.
Gorgeous. So nice.
I'm so jealous. I'm wanting my next space to be in the forest. I'm like craving forest vibes right now so bad. So was there anything else that anybody wanted to pop on and share? If so, feel free to just push the unmute button and we'll manage it. There's not too many of us here to do that right now. So feel free to unmute if you want to share something with the group. Don't be afraid.
I'll go share.
Hello.
Hi, I'm calling from London in UK. And so the whole experience of sharing was kind of surprising to know about the stuff I shared about. Other people in the chat were also kind of feeling something similar, although the issue was different. But my issue or something I needed help was my relationship with food, especially during this like a pandemic. I noticed I've been doing a lot of emotional eating, and I was kind of not really recognizing that or admitting that to myself. And then I actually did talk to my friend earlier about over texting, and then now actually said it aloud. And then that was pretty kind of powerful experience to name that, and also kind of recognize that everyone else is kind of have something, you're around food, not just about, it might not be eating disorders, anything big, but people not have access to food. So there's a lot of issues or emotions around food. During this pandemic. So that
for the sake of everybody seeing, here, for some reason I'm getting a little feedback, so I'm going to mute everybody else for a second. So if you go to gallery view, Yusuke, or if you guys just type in the chat box, can everybody raise your hand if you've been having a funny experience with food during COVID? If you swipe through, isn't it amazing to see how much we think we're alone in this sometimes, right? Which is what's so fascinating, because we think we're alone, but so many people are dealing with so much of the same that we are, and we're absolutely not alone. So thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing and opening that space for people to hear and talk about that and name that. Yusuke, right? Is that how you say it?
Yusuke.
Yusuke,
yeah.
Perfect, got it. Thank you for sharing. And Alton, I see you are unmuted. Is there anything you want to share, brother?
Yes, Justin, Shelly, everyone. Oh my God, I wish I had the omnipresence to say everybody's name. I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. You are so lighthouses of being. What more would you bless me with saying unto us, right? We're one, everybody. We're freaking one. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let's be the oneness, let's just keep loving each other. I sent a couple of you ladies my email through this chat. Oh my God, talk about social media. I've never done this before. I love y'all. So,
and I love that you have your coexist shirt on too, brother. That's
the coexist. Oh, you are so acute and aware, dude. And you, Shelly. I swam. Oh, this is so bold, but it's real. I swam naked in a girlfriend's pool in Hollywood, Florida, quite a few years back, and I know where you're coming from in the spirit and geographically. Wow, 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 wow. I don't know what else to say, but I love y'all.
With Florida. Thank you, Alton. Thank you so much, brother. Oh my goodness. Thank you. So, okay. So in closing, everybody, I see Sadie asked a question. Curious to know if there's some resources you recommend, Shelly, or anyone else that have to do with mutual aid networks and learning how to build those. I think that's a perfect space to kind of start closing out on. Yeah.
So actually, last year, I created an 8-week program, which is free. It's online at mindful.org. And originally it was created as a self-care for activists toolkit, but it's not just for activists. It's since been repurposed for this time period. And since then, I've also written a few other articles for them as well, which include information about mutual aid. The other resource that I'll kind of point you to is one of a teacher that I greatly admire and that I look to often, especially in the communities that I work with, which are communities that are affected by gun violence in this country, is David Trelevin. And I will put in the chat his information, but his website is davidtrelevin.com, or you could if you just Google trauma-informed mindfulness, he's always the first name that comes up. And mutual aid is such an important concept for healing, for creating structures for healing. And so it's a pillar of trauma-informed healing practices that we put together for communities that are dealing with the aftermath of things like mass shootings or daily occurrences of violence in their communities. So those are two really great resources. And you can always reach out to me as well. You could always, I'm very accessible, sometimes sometimes to a fault, too accessible. But if you go to my website or to my Instagram account, which is a funny account, it's Mindful Skater Girl. And that's like a whole nother discussion for another day. But Mindful Skater Girl, you can DM me and I can point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Shelly, in closing, one of the things that I would love to do, I know there's been, and you've shown me so many of them, from stories of people who have lost family members during COVID or because of COVID, and then needed funeral services paid for, or needed help with all these different kinds of things, and so many beautiful ways that people have contributed. And I'm going to ask you what I think is a hard question, but you can pick whichever one. Is one story that has touched you deeply that you'd like to share with the group around how Pandemic of Love has really anchored into the heart and helped a family or someone heal during this time?
God, oh my God, one family. It's so hard to
or just
like
one story that's touched
one
you.
story.
It doesn't even have to be the best story, just one that has touched you. I know you've read thousands.
There's so many touching stories. I will tell, well, you mentioned the paying for a funeral. And so I'll share this story with you. So we got a form that was filled out by a 16-year-old girl. Think about now the presence of mind at age 16, who is she's she's a dreamer. Her parents are undocumented here. And they're in the New York State area. And her father passed away. Her father died from COVID. And because they're undocumented, they don't qualify for the, the funds or the subsidies to cremate the body or have a burial or any type of, subsidies that are available to people with documentation. And nor did they have the money to claim her father's body. And her mother, her parents had been married for close to 40 years. And she somehow found us, no idea how, fills out the form. We get the form, and it was so heartfelt and eloquent and so beautifully written, almost really a tribute. When you read the email or the form that came in, it was like almost like a eulogy to her dad and a testament to who her dad was and who she is because of him and that legacy that he left behind. And so the request was, I know it's a lot of money, but my mother, we're all heartbroken, but my mother is even more traumatized from the fact that we can't reclaim my dad's body and that he won't be buried and have a funeral. And she's a very religious woman, and she, this is very concerning for her, and she's not slept in weeks. And so we immediately, our volunteers, we immediately reached out to her, and we, within 2 hours, found a donor in New York City that was willing to underwrite the entire cost of the funeral, cremation, sent flowers to the service, like huge, like a beautiful wreath, and, remained anonymous, by the way, the entire time. And because they called the funeral director directly and gave their credit card information. And it's amazing, because then the girl, the student, wrote a thank you email. She asked, can I write a thank you email? Will you send it to the donor? Will you make sure that she or he gets this letter? It's really, really important for me that she knows who my dad was. And so she sent the thank you letter along with the eulogy that she read for her father at the funeral. And
Yep, I feel it too.
it's just, it's like stories like these where you're like, my God, it's not, people always ask me, like, has your faith in humanity been restored? And I'm like, no, I never lost faith in humanity. It's just that we need to I think we can be conduits if each one of us takes that responsibility to just, reach out and to not be so closed off. And that includes asking for help and doing really hard things. I think it becomes easier.
I just want to take a moment for all of us to just feel that. Thank you so much, Shelly.
Thank you.
For your heart, for the work you're doing in the world, for you calling all of us forward and to action, to step into our power and our purpose and our greatest sense of who we are in humanity. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being here with our community today. I know you have hours and hours of work to do today. And so I thank you for spending this time with us. And just in the chat box, if everybody would just send one word that you would like to offer to Shelly as she goes off into continuing past 100,000, one word that we want to offer to Shelly.
Aww.
And you can read them all coming through, Shelly. Blessings, love, power, compassion.
Wow. I love
deeply
it.
love, grateful, serenity. Thank you. Gratitude, self-care. And for all of you, this is how I'd like to close, and this is how we'll close every one of our Woke Labs. And Alton, I just have to have you muted because it's echoing back. So I am going to ask all of us to end all of our Woke Labs exactly like this. If you just take one moment, if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, close them, place your hands over your heart, one over the other, and make sure when I'm saying heart, not like your neck and your throat, but really down into the center of your chest. Take a breath in and a breath out. And I want you to just think of one golden nugget, one teaching, one takeaway. It could be anything that you want to take with you from this conversation today. One thing that you want to take away. And just take a moment to think about that thing. It takes about 45 seconds to store it in our long-term memory, so you can repeat it in your mind a few times. What is the one thing that you want to take away from today? And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and open your eyes. And I would love for all of you to share in the chat box your golden nugget, if you're willing, the thing that you want to take away. So we have this cascade of golden nuggets of things that we all are taking away. I know for me, the thing that I'm taking away is, Shelly, like you said, we are stronger together and we rise together. And I say this all the time because it is the thing that I really feel most deeply in my heart. And today was just the most beautiful reminder that we are so strong when we come together. And it's so beautiful. And so Ross said, be of service. Lynn said, you can be a light just by being present. Claire, we have such an incredible community of people who are both doers and dreamers. There are so many of us. Love wins. Ask for help. Be a conduit. Don't lose faith in humanity. You're never alone. There is only love. Shift from what to why not. I love that. From what if to why not. I love that, Shelly. I'm so glad you said that, Sadie, because that was such a good takeaway. Love and non-judgment. There's always something you can do. There's more and more and more. It's okay to ask for help. And I should trust people because our essence is love. I love all of you. I thank you. I honor you. And this has been Justin Michael Williams and Shelly Tygeislki with the Woke Lab. And we'll be back again for our next session with Koya Webb. And we're talking about purpose and passive streams of income, which is such a fantastic conversation to go into next. I love you. I thank you. I honor you. And I'll see you right back here on the Woke Lab. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelly.
Love you, brother.